Here, of course, is the mugshot. Carmelo Sincere Anthony. He's sincere, folks, in case you didn't know. And I'm just going to read these highlighted portions. I gave the suspect instructions. This is the police talking. These are all police talking. It's a police report. I gave the suspect instructions to keep his hands up in the air. During this time, the suspect said verbally out loud, "I was protecting myself." Okay, he thinks he was. So that's a genuine subjective belief in the need to act in self-defense, but it also has to be objectively reasonable. While walking him off the track, the suspect also said he put his hands on me. So it wasn't a disparity of numbers beatdown, one individual. While the suspect sat on the ground, I advised that I had the alleged suspect, and the suspect responds, "I'm not alleged, I did it." Self-defense is a defense of confession and avoidance. So he's confessing to the underlying conduct that is the basis for the murder charge. He better hope self-defense works, or it's an easy conviction for the prosecutor. The police write, as we were walking to the squad car, the suspect was emotional and said, "He put his hands on me. I told him not to." All singular pronouns. Another officer, as I approached Officer Cortez stated Anthony was the alleged suspect, and Anthony then made a spontaneous statement, stated, "I'm not alleged, I did it." So multiple accounts of some of these statements against interest. While walking to my patrol car, Anthony made another spontaneous statement and asked if what happened could be considered self-defense. You know why he had to ask? Because he didn't read the free book. That's why. Get your copy of the Law of Self-Defense Principles, my friends. We only ask that you cover the cost of shipping it to you. We give the book away for free. How to Be Hard to Convict. Asked if what happened could be considered self-defense. And then the knife. The officers on scene were informed the knife was used. The knife that was used was tossed and was still believed to be somewhere close. Eventually, one of the witnesses said they remember seeing it on the bleacher. That's where Carmelo Anthony threw it. An officer was able to locate the knife. It was located between rows 9 and 10, near seat 30, partially open. So it's a folding knife, my friends. It's not this idiotic Cleat cleaning tool. It's just a knife. They recover it. Austin Metcalf had told Carmelo Anthony that he needed to move out from under their team's tent, and Anthony grabbed his bag, opened it, and reached inside and proceeded to tell Austin Metcalf, "Touch me and see what happens." No one really thought Anthony really had any weapons in his bag, and Austin Metcalf proceeded to touch Anthony, and then Anthony told Austin to punch him and see what happens. Remember the mattress guys? Go ahead, take your swing. He's going to spend the rest of his life in prison because he said those words and then shot a much larger man who attacked him. Punch him and see what happens. A short time later, Austin Metcalf grabbed Anthony to tell him to move. And Anthony pulled out what the witness recalled as a black knife and stabbed Austin once in the chest and then ran away. Anyone believe that Cleat cleaning tool I showed you earlier would be misperceived as a black knife that was partially unfolded? Another witness told the police they were all sitting on the bleachers under the memorial Austin Metcalf tent when another male who he did not know walked over and sat under the tent. And then Austin Metcalf, the victim, told Carmelo Anthony that since he did not go to memorial, he had to leave the tent. Austin Metcalf and the male went back and forth verbally, and then Austin stood up and pushed the male to get him out of the tent. The witness had said during this time of arguing, Carmelo Anthony was reaching around in his bag he had. It was at this time that the Carmelo Anthony took out a knife and stabbed Austin and then left. It looks like self-defense, doesn't it, folks? Another witness, a student, quickly informed the police that he knew where the suspect threw the knife and pointed me to its location, and the police recovered the knife. By the way, these are a bunch of witnesses here. The witness, the incident, a Centennial High School, not a millennial, Centennial High School. Austin Metcalf Carmelo Anthony went to Centennial. So one of the witnesses is a high school coach from the Carmelo Anthony High School. Another Heritage High School coach, another Independence High School coach, another Independence High School. These are all adults that will be testifying about what they observed. And this is the Cleat cleaning tool that we're supposed to believe here. We're supposed to believe this was mistaken for a black folding knife. Unbelievable. All right, let's catch up on in-court proceedings. So I have this journalist, J.D. Miles, who's been reporting from the courtroom, and I can't know that he's telling the truth, but his reporting strikes me as credible. So since I have no other resource, that's what I'm going to go with. He writes, jury has entered the courtroom for the Carmelo Anthony murder trial. If the 18 jurors and alternates, there are 10 women, wow, 8 men. It's a mix of ethnicities, white, Middle Eastern, Southeast Asian, no black jurors, as we reported yesterday to the objection of the defense. Another one, this is from 2 days ago again. Prosecution opening statements in Carmelo Anthony murder trial from Bill Werski, Collin County First Assistant District Attorney, who says the defendant brought a knife into the stadium that was prohibited. The knife was prohibited, and plunged it into the chest, buried it into the heart of another young man, causing his death, and then he ran away. So yes, I would expect the prosecution to be going for a consciousness of guilt instruction. This case has nothing to do with race. This case has nothing to do with self-defense. The facts of this case are simple. They're as simple as the killing was senseless. The video tells the story. That video shows the murder. Then you're going to hear from numerous witnesses who were there. This was a provoked, unjustified murder. It is senseless. Defense attorney now, opening statement, Mike Howard, on what he says happened in the stadium tent. Everybody in that tent is a teammate and a friend of Austin and Hunter Metcalf, okay? But if Carmelo Anthony thought that was a hostile environment, why would he go there and refuse to leave? Hunter and Austin noticed Melo, that's what they're calling him, the defense team, Melo, and tell him to leave. Melo is 5'8", 130 pounds. Hunter and Austin were 6'1", 215 pounds. But if you feel threatened, why don't you leave? They're asking you to leave. They want you to leave. They're not blocking you from leaving. You're going to hear differing accounts of what was said. He says witnesses will testify that Melo said, as long as you don't touch me, we're cool. Well, that's rather different than touch me and see what happens, isn't it? And then why doesn't he leave? Austin Metcalf makes the first physical contact. In spite of the warning, touch me and find out. Oh, now it sounds different. Now it's touch me and find out. Or whatever was said. Well, it matters, whatever was said. And just because you tell someone, touch me and find out, and they touch you, doesn't mean you get to stab them in the heart. In that split second, Melo had to make a decision how and when to act. To react to a touch? So he reacts in a split second of fear and chaos. What chaos? What chaos that he's not creating? He immediately says, I was defending myself. Maybe. This one, jurors are about to watch the original unadulterated video before they watch the enhanced version. The video shows a wide shot of about half of the outdoor high school stadium from the middle of the football field to the parking lots. You can see tents in the top right corner. On the other side of the field that were put up in the lower bleachers, prosecutors have zoomed in where Carmelo Anthony enters the stadium in a gray sweatsuit near the Memorial High School tent that about 15 students are sitting in and standing under. Now they've watched the first 5 minutes of the surveillance video of the scene before the stabbing. Students gathered under a yellow canvas with the memorial, the Austin Metcalf High School logo. Just after 10 a.m., there's some pushing among individuals under the back of the tent, but it's difficult to tell what's happened. The camera is too far for the original video to determine. Suddenly, after some pushing, all of those under the tent scatter quickly. Austin Metcalf has been stabbed to death. The video then shows Carmelo Anthony running out of the stadium less than a minute after the stabbing and into the school parking lot where he would be arrested. Video from another camera shows Carmelo Anthony wearing a gray sweatsuit being chased while running near the edge of the stadium and is putting his hands up in the air before 2 uniformed police handcuff him and take him away. The jury's about to see an enhanced version of the video. So they just finished now watching the enhanced version of the video. But so far, these new magnified videos, which have never been viewed by the public, still do not produce a clear visual of what happened under the tent. You can tell there was pushing, but it's mostly obscured. Carmelo Anthony's defense attorney, Toby Shook, another defense attorney, is cross-examining the video analysis expert who magnified security camera. I guess they're doing the pinch and zoom thing from the Rittenhouse case. Defense attorney says, you really can't tell what people are doing under the tent, can you? No, there's really no way to determine when an argument starts or stops, is there? Well, you can tell movement, obviously. Everyone's saying they can identify movement. Maybe not who's doing what. But if there's no movement, there's no 4-on-1 beatdown. If there's no movement, there's no sustained beating that would justify deadly defensive force. And then we have some clips from this morning. Again, J.D. Miles writes for Dallas CBS, I think? Yeah, CBS. This is today now. This is yesterday, sorry. The first prosecution witness in the Carmelo Anthony murder trial. This is today. Sorry, today. Today's the 5th. This is this morning. The first prosecution witness in the Carmelo Anthony murder trial this morning is Neil Adams, a Frisco firefighter who responded. Basically, Austin Metcalf was dead when he got there. Nothing to be done. The next witness is Frisco police officer Eduardo Cortez. He arrested Carmelo Anthony at the stadium. I had the suspect raise his hands in the air. I gave him instructions. I patted him down for weapons. I advised that I had the alleged suspect detained. Carmelo Anthony replied, according to the officer, and we saw this in the police report, I'm not alleged, I did it, a statement against interest. So it's admissible even as hearsay. He put his hands on me. I told him not to. And then the prosecutors were going to show the officer's body cam footage. Prosecutors are showing the jury body-worn cameras from responding officers. For the first time, the jury hears the defendant speak. 4-minute body cam was played. Officer encounters Anthony, handcuffs him, sits him down before going through his pockets. You hear Anthony sounding like he's sobbing and crying. Yeah, he's just killed someone, and he knows he has no justification for it. As the officer walks him to his car, I told him not to put his hands on me. He's then put into a patrol car, gives officer his name and spelling. Another officer's body cam records Anthony saying after the officer radios that he has the alleged suspect, I'm not alleged, I did it. Okay, that's all been played for the jury now. It's not just words on paper in a police report. Under cross-examination, Anthony's defense attorney asked the officer, do you remember Karmelo crying once you and the other officer were in the squad car? The officer said, did I see tears coming down the face? I can't testify to that because I didn't see his face. My description was based on the tone of his voice. Defense attorneys did get the officer to admit on the stand that Anthony surrendered peacefully and complied with officers once they ran up to him. He didn't turn himself into police. They had to go get him. He didn't go to them. And complied with officers' commands. There was no resisting. There was no struggle. There was no continuing to run. That's the defense attorney asking that question. There was no continuing to run. No. But that means there was running. And by the way, not resisting, not struggling, that's how you keep yourself off the montage. You know what I mean by the montage? You're all familiar with this? The body-worn camera montage. If you follow this kind of content, you ought to be. All right, let's catch up with J.D. Miles now. Let me refresh this. I believe J.D. Miles is still reporting from the courtroom. Oh, it looks good. Okay. Oh, there's only a couple more. From an hour ago, and they're at lunch now. J.D. Miles, jurors are getting their first look at the knife that prosecutors say Carmelo Anthony used to kill Austin Metcalf. It is a 5-inch folding knife. Oh, I guess it wasn't this, huh? It wasn't this bullshit we were supposed to believe? These contemptible liars. It's a 5-inch folding knife that had blood on it when it was photographed at the scene. On the ground in the bleachers of the stadium, the jury's also seeing photos of Carmelo Anthony's backpack, which was near the knife at the scene and had been opened. Prosecutors have now introduced the knife into evidence and the backpack. And here, jurors are now watching an extremely graphic body cam video that shows paramedics applying CPR to try and save Austin Metcalf's life while you can hear students wailing and screaming inside the stadium from a distance. Folks, if you've never seen these kind of knife injuries, even from like the kind of folding pocket knife I carry around in my pocket to open packages and stuff. I don't know if I'm allowed to show that on YouTube. They cause horrific injuries. In the Apple River stabbing case, Nikolai Mew, he was just holding his little folding knife in front of him when he was attacked by one of the aggressors. Basically, the attacker threw himself on the knife. And that little pocket knife blade he had opened that guy up from hip to nipple. I mean, his guts spilled into the river. A little tiny knife like that. So when you're imagining Austin Metcalf, given the witness statements I've heard, I would suggest don't think of it like a little puncture. This will be a gaping wound. You can look inside his chest and see his heart. That's why he's saying it's extremely graphic, body-worn camera video. Well, you can hear students wailing and screaming. Inside the courtroom, Austin Metcalf's mother and father each have other family members wrapping their arms around them, and they broke down in tears while watching it. Can you imagine? Carmelo Anthony is watching the video intently, along with the jurors. The video captures the chaos and uncertainty about what happened and why. No, it's not capturing that. This is the chaos of what happened after the stabbing, right? Don't suggest that there was chaos before the knife was shoved in to the heart of Austin Metcalf.